What if I told you that two of America's most talented figure skaters just broke the internet? Not on the ice, but on a dance floor thousands of miles from any rink. It started with a single video. No warning, no announcement, just Alysa Liu and Amber Glenn side by side, moving in perfect sync to a beat that half the world already knew. The comments exploded within hours. Millions of views, thousands of shares, and suddenly, everyone was asking the same question. Who are these two, and why does this feel like the most unexpected collab of the year? Here's the thing. To understand why this moment hit so differently, you have to understand who these women are. Because this wasn't just two friends messing around for clout. This was a statement. Alysa Liu, born in San Francisco, the daughter of a Chinese immigrant father who sacrificed everything for his daughter's dream. She became the youngest US figure skating champion in history at just 13 years old. 13! When most kids are worried about middle school drama, Alysa Liu was landing quad jumps that grown women couldn't touch. She went to the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics representing the United States, competing in a poetic twist in the very country her family once left behind. She didn't win gold, but she won something harder to measure: respect. Millions of eyes, a legacy written in ice. And then there's Amber Glenn. If Alysa is precision, Amber is pure fire, a Texas-born skater who has fought her entire career to be seen, to be heard, to be taken seriously in a sport that hasn't always made space for people like her. Amber is openly queer, deeply expressive, and unapologetically herself, on and off the ice. She skates like she has something to prove, because for a long time, she did. And that energy, that refusal to shrink, it translates to everything she does. So when these two women decided to recreate the Miss Grand Thailand dance, one of the most viral, joyful, and infectious choreography trends to sweep social media in recent memory, it wasn't random. It was chemistry. It was personality. It was two elite athletes reminding the world that they are so much more than their sport. Now, if you're not familiar with the Miss Grand Thailand dance, let me paint you a picture. It started as a pageant performance, structured, elegant, intentional. But the internet has a way of taking something polished and turning it into a celebration. The routine went viral because it sits right at the intersection of playful and precise. It rewards people who commit to it fully. And commitment, that's something figure skaters have in their DNA. The clip of Alysa and Amber doing this routine circulated fast. And here's what people couldn't stop talking about: the ease of it. Athletes at their level train so obsessively within their discipline that seeing them outside of it should feel awkward. It never does. Because elite athleticism isn't just sport-specific. It's a way of existing in your body. Coordination, rhythm, spatial awareness, those don't disappear when the skates come off. But there was something else underneath the surface of this video, something that made it resonate beyond just the entertainment value. Figure skating, for all its beauty, has a complicated relationship with joy. The sport demands suffering almost as a prerequisite for success. Skaters train through injuries, they perform through pain, they smile on the ice because the judges are watching, not always because they feel it. The culture of the sport has historically left very little room for the kind of unfiltered, carefree happiness you see in that dance video. So when Alysa Liu, an Olympic athlete who has been under a microscope since she was a child, lets herself be completely free on camera, it lands differently. When Amber Glenn, who has spent years navigating a sport that struggled to embrace her authenticity, dances with that level of abandon and joy, it means something. This is what genuine connection looks like. This is what it looks like when two people exist in a moment entirely for themselves, and the rest of us get to watch. The internet recognized it immediately. Fans of figure skating who had followed both athletes for years flooded the comments with an emotion that's hard to name. Something between pride and relief, like watching someone you care about finally exhale. And new audiences, people who had never watched a single skating competition in their lives, found themselves going down a rabbit hole. Who is Alysa Liu? What's Amber Glen's story? What is figure skating actually when these are the kinds of humans it produces? That's the power of a moment like this. It doesn't just entertain, it opens a door. Alysa's journey to and through the Olympics is the kind of story that should be a documentary. Actually, there's already been significant coverage of it, and still it feels like the surface has barely been scratched. Her father, Alysa Liu, moved to the United States under difficult circumstances and built a life around his daughter's dream. He coached her informally in the early years. The relationship between them is complicated, human, and deeply moving. When she competed in Beijing, it wasn't just athletic performance, it was a family's entire history landing on a sheet of ice. And Amber's story runs parallel in spirit, if not in detail. She has spoken openly about her identity, about mental health, about what it costs to be visibly, unapologetically yourself in a sport that built on performing a very specific version of femininity. Her willingness to be honest has made her something rarer than a great skater. It's made her a voice. And here these two are, on video, just dancing, just being young women having fun. And somehow, that simple act carries the weight of everything they've each been through. Storytelling. The Miss Grand Thailand trend gave them a canvas. They brought the paint. What's fascinating from a cultural standpoint is how this moment sits at the intersection of multiple conversations happening in real time. The global reach of social media trends, the way Asian and Asian American athletes navigate visibility and representation in Western sports, the growing demand for athletes to exist as full human beings, not just performance machines, the specific joy of women supporting women. Every one of those threads runs through that video. And the timing matters too. With major international competition cycles generating renewed attention on figure skating, content like this serves as the connective tissue between the high-stakes world of elite sport and the everyday lives of people who follow these athletes on social media. It's the behind the scenes, the human moment, the proof that the person you cheer for on competition day is a real, multi-dimensional person who also just wants to have fun. In a media landscape that often flattens athletes into their achievements, Alysa Liu and Amber Glen did something quietly radical. They reminded everyone watching that they're people first. And people, it turns out, are way more interesting than highlights reels. If you haven't seen the video yet, find it. Watch it twice. Once for the obvious joy of it, and once to pay attention to the way both of them move, the precision, the rhythm, the effortless synchronization that only comes from years of training your body to respond to music at the highest level. Then come back here and tell me in the comments, which of the two do you think nailed it more? Alysa's clean perfection or Amber's raw energy? Drop your answer below. I genuinely want to know. And if this video made you appreciate either of these athletes in a new way, hit subscribe because we cover stories exactly like this one. The moments that live between the competitions, the human side of the athletes you root for, the stories that make sports worth watching in the first place. The ice will always be there, but it's moments like this, unscripted, unguarded, and completely real, that you actually remember.